Have you ever traveled to a new country with high expectations, only to be greeted with a cold stare, a sharp tone, or a service staff who looked like they wished you never showed up? Sometimes, culture shock isn't about the food, the language, or the weather. It's about the people. Today, we're diving into one of the most brutally honest travel topics online, the top 10 rudest countries for tourists. Before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more honest travel guides every week. Let's get started. 10. United States. The US is famous for big smiles, but many tourists say their first American encounter, usually at the airport, is anything but friendly. Immigration officers barely look at you, TSA agents shout instructions, and some staff seem exhausted by questions. Outside the airport, the fast pace in cities like New York can feel intense and abrupt. What Americans see as straightforward, others interpret as aggressive. Still, once you leave major hubs, many visitors say the warmth becomes more genuine. 9. France. France, especially Paris, is beloved for its beauty, but not always for its customer service. Many travelers say locals appear impatient or disinterested, especially if you don't speak French. A simple request can earn an iconic Parisian eye roll. But French communication is naturally direct and subtle rather than overly friendly. Once you understand that, the experience feels less rude and more cultural. 8. India. India is vibrant, chaotic, and intense. For first-time visitors, that intensity can feel like rudeness, crowded streets, loud honking, persistent vendors, and taxi drivers who insist on taking you somewhere better. Customer service, especially in big cities, can feel rushed. But many tourists say that the longer they stay, the more they discover surprising kindness and generosity behind the fast-paced exterior. 7. China. China has different norms around personal space and communication. Queue cutting and pushing through crowds are common. Customer service is often fast and efficient, but not warm. Locals may speak loudly and avoid small talk, which some tourists misinterpret as hostility. But Chinese culture prioritizes practicality over polite performance. Once you connect with locals personally, the hospitality is genuine. 6. Italy. Italy is stunning, but tourists in cities like Rome and Venice often report impatient locals, rushed waiters, and airport staff who seem stressed. With millions of visitors every year, locals experience tourist fatigue. When strangers block sidewalks or repeatedly ask for directions, patience naturally wears thin. Yet outside tourist zones, Italians are known for warmth, energy, and heartfelt hospitality. 5. United Kingdom. British politeness is famous, but to many tourists, it feels distant. Locals avoid small talk with strangers, customer service is polite but rarely enthusiastic, and immigration officers are famously serious. Their subtle, understated communication often confuses visitors. What sounds polite may actually mean the opposite, but underneath the dry delivery, Brits are generally kind and respectful. 4. Russia. Russia has a reputation for being stern. Smiling at strangers isn't a cultural norm, and public warmth is rare. Tourists often interpret this seriousness as rudeness. Customer service is formal and direct, and staff rarely soften their tone. But when travelers form even a small connection with locals, they often discover deep, sincere hospitality. 3. Germany. Germany values precision and directness, and that includes the way people speak. Tourists sometimes describe Germans as blunt or strict. Break a rule and someone will point it out. Ask a vague question and you'll get a sharp, detailed answer. Customer service focuses on efficiency, not friendliness. But the intention isn't to offend, Germans simply value honesty over sugarcoating. 2. South Korea. South Korea moves fast, fast service, fast crowds, fast everything. Metro staff are all business. Shopkeepers may ignore you until you approach them. In busy districts, people often push past without apologizing. This mix of speed and minimal emotional expression feels cold to some visitors. Yet outside major cities, many tourists describe Koreans as incredibly warm, generous, and welcoming. 1. Japan. Japan is known worldwide for politeness, but tourist experiences are more nuanced. Japanese etiquette relies heavily on rules and order. When tourists unknowingly break those rules, like talking loudly on trains or not knowing local customs, locals often respond with quiet frustration. Some restaurants avoid serving foreigners due to communication issues. Tourist fatigue is real in crowded cities. Still, Japan remains one of the safest, most respectful countries to visit, especially when travelers take time to learn its cultural expectations. So, what do these countries have in common? Each one is rich in culture, beauty, and unforgettable experiences. But each also has social norms that don't always match what visitors expect. What feels like rudeness is often just cultural difference, or locals overwhelmed by overtourism. And here's the irony, sometimes the rudest country becomes the one you end up loving the most. Before we wrap up, one thing is clear, rude doesn't mean bad. Every place on this list is still worth visiting. But when travelers consistently report cold airport staff, impatient service, or locals who seem tired of tourists, it's a conversation worth having. Thanks for watching, and safe travels.